Chapter 1. Oh my god, I really hope that this is good. Filled just absolutely to the brim with some lore and speculation. Let's see.
This place holds many mysteries, but few answers.
Stop there! Who are you?
One who would be your guide. Tell me, what do you remember from before?
My general. A fierce battle. And then I was imprisoned in darkness.
But now, you are free.
What are you?
Come, there is much I would show you, to prepare you for the challenges that lie ahead.
This place. So strange. Where are we?
Where is less important than when. Many thousands of years ago, when our world was young, Azeroth was home to the ancestors of dragons. Primitive beasts ruled by primal instincts. Yet, there were a few in whom the spark of intelligence was lit, who thought, spoke, and felt more deeply than the rest.
What does this have to do with me?
Were it not for them, your people would not be. From these proto-dragons, there arose the monster, Galakrond.
Oh, bro.
Whose insatiable
Big
hunger
boy.
would have consumed us all. When the fate of our kind was at stake, we five overcame the instincts of fear and self-preservation and united to battle the Leviathan.
We? So, you were one of these.
For our bravery.
Are they changing the lore? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but that's not quite how that happened. At least not in how we were informed of it originally. But it does seem like that is a massive lore change, because they were actually losing to Galakrond. Yeah, okay, point of view makes sense, Apocalypse. I didn't think of that. So it is being told from the point of view of someone. Therefore, it doesn't have to be fully correct, because things could be left out just for, interest's sake, to make it easier to tell the story. Or this is how they remember it rather than what actually happened there. Because, I saw Tyr nowhere, and Tyr was definitely part of that fight. We know this because they told us.
Risking everything to save the world, we were granted a gift of the Titans, transformed into something greater. Together, we became the Aspects, leaders of the Dragonflights, the protectors of Azeroth. In time, we took on visages like this to better commune with the younger races.
Why have you shown me this?
I am Nosdormu, I was aspect of the Bronze Flight. It is my fate to see all of time.
I was?
Aspect of the Bronze Flight. I am Nosdormu. I was aspect of the Bronze Flight.
I was aspect of the Bronze Dragonflight. He is currently the aspect of the Bronze Dragonflight. Unless, of course, the argument here is that when they poured their power into the Dragon Soul, or Demon Soul, depending on which one you want to believe it is, or which version of it you want to believe it is. But when they poured their power into the Dragon Soul, they lost their aspect status. But that would be wild, because they were still always considered as the aspects, even though their power was in the Dragon Soul and it was depleted in order to take down Deathwing. So that's weird. Or this is actually taking place in the future, and this means that Nosdormu is no longer Nosdormu. That could be it too. Is a retcon. They are now confirming that at the end of Kata, they did indeed lose all their power, even though we saw otherwise. Well, that's a pretty big retcon though, Apocalypse. I mean, that's a massive retcon. Because as far as retcons go, I mean, the aspects still have power. In Legion, at the end of the Emerald Nightmare, we see the aspects and their power. The green dragons are there trying to heal the dream. That was their power, by the way. Their power was to heal the dream. So they still have that power. Yes, it's diminished, but it's not gone. So that would be a very big retcon. This could always be in terms of time. So this could be a time issue. This is taking place after the fall of Nosdormu. He does get his perspective messed up by timelines too. He can see all of them, so often speaks in incorrect tenses. That is also possible, right? So from his perspective, because he knows what the timelines have in store for him, he already refers to himself as was. This could mean that he knows that this expansion, or in the immediate future, he will fall and he will become Morazond, which, by the way, is still a legitimate way for him to go.
It is my fate to see all of time. But now a threat to our world approaches. An ancient enemy has returned. You will play a part in the events to come, and you will have to make a difficult choice, as we did.
I am not like you.
No. My story is already written. But yours, and that of all Drakthir.
That's quite impactful, that line, actually. My story is already written. So the story of Nosdormu, just to give a quick recap, the story of Nosdormu is one of terrible, terrible fucking sadness. At the moment that Nosdormu became the Bronze Dragonflight aspect, he already saw his death. This was the burden. This was his price that he had to pay. Every single one of the dragon aspects, upon becoming their aspect, they were given this great gift, right? All this power. But every single one of them came with a curse, so to speak, as well. So there is a counterbalance to this. For Deathwing, for example, as soon as he gained the power of the earth, he also started feeling the rocks and the weight of Azeroth pushing down on him, literally ripping into his skin. This is one of the reasons, by the way, that Deathwing has all of these metal things on him, because as he grew more and more hateful, the stones of Azeroth started pressing more and more on him, ripping him apart, effectively. This is his curse, along with his power. For Nosdormu, this curse was his death. He saw his death. He knew how he was going to die. And with that came almost a double curse, because at the moment of his death, he knew that he would not accept it. And it was that would turn him into Morazond. And then as Morazond, he becomes a very, very dangerous enemy. So it's kind of impactful that he says, my story has already been written.
Is only beginning to unfold.
I don't mind this one. This was really cool, actually. I like the fact that he was the one to start off with. There's a spoiler in the subtitles. Oh, by the way, there is a spoiler in the subtitles. What spoiler? Where? This is just a promo of it for the new Dracther Evoker. Cyrodiil, not really, because there's a lot of lore hidden within this. Where is the spoiler? Within the subtitles. I think this is a good way to start. Nosdormu is by far the most interesting of all of the dragon aspects. And I guess I should give you guys a little bit of backstory here. I'm not a huge fan of the dragons and the dragon lore in World of Warcraft. Not that it's bad lore. It's just always been more boring to me than anything else. I prefer much of the other lore elements within WoW to the dragon. It's not that it's boring, it's just compared to other things. The Void has always been my most interesting, then Death, then Foul, and then all of the others. Dragons are sort of right at the bottom. I think maybe Titans might be a bit lower than dragons, but still. So I've never had great interest in dragons, but Nosdormu has always been interesting to me because of his fated Morozond. So I like the fact that they started with Nosdormu. And I also like the way that this kicked off. It's very slow. It reveals a little, but mostly it's just a retelling of all that we already knew. But it does reveal some subtle hints at threads that might in the future be played out and we may see. So I'm really looking forward to that. Not these, apparently. Noble's reaction had the names before the subtitles. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't think that matters too much, because it's who he's speaking to, right? And yeah, that might be important, but not right now, at least. Always weird. Warhammer Catan dragons are silly but awesome. It's not that. So I know there's a lot of people that love dragons, and I don't mind that at all. I don't find the dragons to be like horrible or anything. If you compare dragons to a lot of other stories, I still prefer the dragon story. It's just in the entirety of World of Warcraft, in perspective to the rest of World of Warcraft, the dragon lore is kind of boring to me. And before the ancient enemy is actually Odin and the Titans. Dude, I actually think the ancient enemy might be Morozond. I don't think it's the Primalists. I think the ancient enemy that he's referring to is Morozond. So I think that we might find out that Morozond was behind a lot of the fuckery that happened, and how Galakrond eventually became Galakrond may actually have something to do with Morozond. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, dude, Morozond didn't even exist at the time of Galakrond, so what the fuck are you talking about? But this is where time fuckery becomes a really big deal. At the moment of Morozond's creation, Morozond have existed since the beginning of time and also till the end of time. At the moment of his creation, because Morozond has power over the timelines the same as Nosdormu, meaning Morozond can go to any point in the timeline and do basically whatever the hell he wants. So the moment that Morozond was created, he was basically created in that moment, but also at the start and also at the end, because he can move in that timeline. So he could have easily, from his creation, moved back in time to where Galakrond was and created Galakrond, then move forward in time, and Nosdormu and them would have to deal with it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's sort of one of the problems with time traveling, is that sort of paradox that ends up happening of, what can you do and how will that affect people, especially since it didn't affect you in the first place, but now it might affect you because you moved back in time. So how are you going to deal with that? He's not the enemy. Morozond will be our savior to this X-Pack. Plus, we know he will survive this since he goes back and dies in Kata. Yeah, but it also depends on which one we saw die in Cataclysm. Maybe something like 9.2 Galakrond, 9.3 Morozond, 9.4 Odin. But 9.3 and 9.4 would be interchangeable based on the story. I don't think we're going to get a 9.4 ever. We've never had 9.4, so I don't think 9.4 would be a thing here. Or we've never had 0.4 patches, really, not in modern day WoW. And it seems like Blizzard may want to do away with the 0.3 patches too if Shadowlands is anything to go by. So whatever is going to happen in this expansion will have to happen in the two big two big patches that comes. I for one think this is really good. I'm really looking forward to this.